I paid for my parents' restaurant for 4 years. The day they cut me out of it, I called the bank. My parents opened a restaurant when I was 29 using a combination of their modest savings and a substantial loan I provided from money I had accumulated across several years of deliberate, unglamorous financial discipline. It was my mother's dream in the specific way that some dreams belong to a person so completely that being adjacent to their pursuit of it feels like a privilege. She had cooked her entire life with the instinctive fluency of someone who learned in a kitchen before they learned to read. The restaurant was real and it was hers, and I wanted it to exist in the world. The loan was documented. Interest-free repayment timeline, flexible, structured by a lawyer I hired because I believed in the dream and also in the importance of clarity between people who love each other and are about to become financially entangled. My parents signed the agreement without objection. My father said the documentation was unnecessary between family. I said I thought documentation protected family rather than insulting it. We moved on. The restaurant opened and was, from its first months, genuinely good. My mother's cooking drew people back. The space, a narrow room on a street with reasonable foot traffic, developed a regularity of customers that translated into stability faster than most new restaurants manage. I watched this happen from a comfortable distance, visiting occasionally, proud in a way that required no acknowledgement to be real. My father handled the business side. This had been the arrangement. My mother cooked, my father managed. What I did not fully appreciate at the outset was that my father's approach to business management was improvisational in a way that documentation and agreed timelines tend to discourage. Repayment of my loan, scheduled to begin in the second year of operation, did not begin in the second year of operation. When I raised this, my father explained there had been startup costs that had run longer than anticipated. I extended the timeline. In the third year, the explanation was equipment replacement. I absorbed the delay again. I want to be honest about my own failure here. I allowed the documentation to become theoretical because raising it felt like prioritizing money over family, and I had not yet fully learned that allowing those two things to be framed as opposites is itself a manipulation, whether intentional or not. What clarified my thinking was a phone call from a business contact who mentioned, in passing, that he had heard my parents were in discussions with an investor about the restaurant. I received this information on a Tuesday morning and sat with it for approximately an hour before calling my father. My father confirmed it. The investor was a family friend. The arrangement being discussed involved a transfer of partial ownership in exchange for capital that would allow expansion to a second location. He explained this with the brisk confidence of someone describing a sensible business decision, which it was, except that it had been made without a single conversation with the person whose loan had made the original business possible and whose documented agreement would be materially affected by a change in ownership structure. I asked when he had planned to tell me. He said he was telling me now. I asked whether the investor was aware of the outstanding loan. There was a pause that answered the question before he did. He said the loan was a family matter separate from the business structure. He said that the documentation I had insisted on had always felt adversarial to him and that he hoped I could be supportive of an opportunity that was good for the family. I told him I needed a few days to think. He said he hoped I would be reasonable. I called my lawyer the same afternoon. My lawyer called the bank the following morning. The loan agreement, properly documented and signed, was a real instrument with real standing, and the proposed ownership transfer, absent my agreement, had complications that the investor's own lawyers identified within 48 hours of being made aware of the documentation's existence. The expansion discussions paused. My father called me 3 times in the following week. The calls moved through frustrated and arrived at something I had not heard from him before, which was a careful, reluctant acknowledgement that he had handled things poorly. I did not withdraw the loan or pursue aggressive recovery. I'm not interested in destroying something my mother built with genuine love and talent. What I did was have the first fully honest conversation with my parents about money that we had ever managed, with my lawyer's framework as the foundation, and with the documentation that my father had always found adversarial, suddenly serving exactly the protective function I had always said it would. The repayment schedule is now active. The investor arrangement was restructured with full transparency about existing obligations. My mother, who had been largely shielded from the financial details by my father's management, sat across from me during one of these conversations and said quietly that she was sorry I had been put in this position. I told her the restaurant was worth it. I meant her, not the building. I think she understood the difference.